Hello friends, it is that time again with that Erickson. It is December 27th. Sorry for putting the video out a little bit later than normal, guys. Once again, you guys came out, showed me some love on my Twitter at @that_Erickson you've spoken, and today's video is on the skill system. Now the skill system is pretty deep, however, in terms of how it works, it's quite simple. The skill system I mentioned is very much like EVE Online and their time-based training system. You can select the skill and it will begin to accumulate points slowly over time, even when you're not playing the game. The guys at ArtCraft really believe in this system, and I think it is good as well. That being said, do remember that it is alpha, and things are subject and most likely will feel some changes. A lot of the people have some harsh critiques of the system, while others simply love it. I tend to find myself that I lie right in the middle. That is why I wanted to do something a little bit different today. My plan for the channel is to get deep into Crowfall, as you all know, but right now things are very up in the air, and many of the features aren't even able to be tested, so it's a lot of speculation. I'm doing this from a standpoint to educate and grab the attention of those who might not know much about Crowfall yet and educate people. I'm not well known on YouTube, so the videos to this point have been purely informative. I want to get a little bit of a following going before I throw out some of my personal opinions. That being said, I have gotten some feedback from people on the Crowfall community saying they want to hear a little bit more different stuff from my perspective. So today I think I'll touch briefly on the skill system, and then I'm going to go into a little pros and cons discussion from my perspective of the current system. Also, we'll talk about VIP and how that will be very important for Crowfall to succeed. I will keep this updated as changes roll out, so let's just jump right into the skill system in Crowfall. Alright, so first we'll do a quick look at the skill system in its current form, and then I'll go into some pros and cons from my perspective. So the first thing here is you'll see that there's two main categories, universal, and there is the archetype tree. So you can see the system is kind of pushing you into one of these three directions: combat, crafting, and exploration. This can be a problem for some people that have a touch-all bases, jack-of-all-trades sort of playstyle, because you won't be able to do everything. You can, but you might be gimped if, for example, you jump into crafting and then jump into combat thereafter. So I'm not going to go into a node-by-node coverage because that would take forever. So you can see here that the main combat starts with combat principles. The ones with circles are in the game right now, so we don't have stealth or siege warfare skills just yet. And you'll notice here, if I, for example, select weapon basics, that they've added this, you can't get into this tree unless you put in 50% into the combat principles tree first. So it's kind of like a way to gate you into the other trees. Okay. The trees can also further break down deeper as you invest points. So for example, as I covered armor basics, weapon styles, they can go even deeper, like for example range weapon styles here, or melee weapon styles. So you can kind of get a general sense of what the system is trying to do. Now the archetype trees are strictly for the classes. That's all there is right now. There might be more, it might change. So for example, in the tank trees, there's knight. And similarly, if you get to the end, you can move into a more specialized routine. So you could be swordsman, sentinel, crusader, and as you can imagine, swordsman's more DPS, sentinel is more of a tank. So you can see how this is going. As of today, the VIP plan is that VIPs can train in one universal skill and 3 archetype skills at a given time. This, once again, this might change. From my perspective, who wants to see Crowfall succeed and make tons of money doing it and stick around for a long time, I'm not the hugest fan of this model. Before we cover VIP, some of my thoughts, I want to take a look at a brief pros and cons list. Alright, so let's start off with pros. Now, this is my opinion, and a pro for me might be a con for you. It's all dependent on your playstyle, so you might want to take it as such. I'd love to hear some of your personal pros and cons from your playstyle view. You can throw those down in the comments below. So for the pros, I would say that it has a focus on getting out there and playing the game, not spending a ton of time min-maxing skills. Since some of these take days to fill up, you can focus on actually getting out there, winning campaigns, and making some friends and enemies. Another one, I believe, it promotes players' skill versus abilities. Since everyone will be training at the same pace, in a vacuum, assuming nobody forgets to queue up a skill, everyone should be relatively even. And what you do in the game and your skill will be more meaningful than the skills chosen from a big picture standpoint. Another one I would say is it really allows you to narrow down your playstyle. Do you want to be a Templar who wants to be a damage dealer more than a traditional tank? You can focus on those skill paths. Once your archetype tree fills up, you can further customize with a subcategory. Like in our knight example, you can be a swordsman or a sentinel, for example. Another pro is that you can have class diversity when you're training 3 archetypes. Obviously, this is for VIP only. But it allows for a lot of class diversity for people that like to try different classes. As mentioned before, it keeps the playing field even. This, again, is from a perfect world where we all start at day 1 and never forget to queue up a skill. We'll talk more about that later. Alright, so now let's move on to a few cons. The system does not feel rewarding. You don't need to do anything to get better at something per se, and you don't get that ding feeling when you level up in other MMOs. It's like, oh, I'm 1/100th away, yay. It's highly specialized. The universal trees will push you in a direction, and if you deviate, you might feel gimped in the early phases. I think this will be less of an issue down the line, but it still could be seen as a con. While the trees are deep and large with many branches, early on, your choices are kind of limited, and considering it takes days at a time to fill up a node to feel that power spike, it might take a while to feel like something was actually accomplished. I'll cover VIP more, but it seems really not very valuable to someone who wants to purely 100% craft or gather. The archetype trees are only for classes to pump your class up. Now, I suspect there will be some dedicated crafters who hate braving campaign worlds and might let guildies gather for them, sit back and craft. So those 3 archetypes, let alone 1, will feel relatively pointless. I would like to see some crafting or exploration archetype passive subcategories to help those who really want to focus to do so. For example, in Star Wars Galaxies, crafters would dump all their points into craft boxes, hardly dabbling in combat at all. I think archetype trees need more options for those PvP haters, even though this is a PvP game. I mean from the standpoint where they need some more options for their classes if they're going to be full-blown crafting and want to focus on that 100%. While your points you gain are making you a better fighter, crafter, or explorer, the gear will still matter. I can have a lot of points in one-handed weapons, for example, but if I have a crappy one-handed weapon, or it breaks, you might feel like, well, why did I toss all those points here? I don't want the gear to take away from the skills. This still is speculation, as theory crafting hard numbers for what a point does to you is not 100% clear as of yet, and is likely to change. Okay, so we talked about skills, how to train them, what VIP does for you, and some pros and cons. So I am all in on Crowfall. I wanted to make tons of money. I've played many MMOs from the sub ones to the free-to-play, buy-to-play, freemium, you name it, I've done them all. Now, all these models have some pluses and minuses, and in the end, the money the game makes helps pay the creators and the employees, and make new content, and to keep the game going. As I mentioned, VIP details are not fleshed out fully yet, but I don't think the 3 archetype system for queuing is enough. Like I mentioned, for a crafter, they might not even care about 1 archetype, let alone 3. Combat guys will be happy, but what about the jack-of-all-trade players? They might feel it be more beneficial to make 2 accounts. Now you might be thinking, well, that's another $50+ to ArtCraft. While yes, that is true, the buy-to-play model is still really hoping to make a lot after sales. Would you rather have from a company perspective, someone buy 2 $50 accounts, or have 1 account where they spend $20 a month on a store and VIP items for a whole year? So for me, I think the VIP system needs to bring more value to the table. Remember, this is not fully fleshed out, and ArtCraft is full of brilliant minds who I am sure have thought of this, so we will have to see what VIP truly has to offer closer to launch. I'm doing it from the perspective of what if it launched today with these systems. Online store will sell mounts, parcel buildings, and that will probably drive a great deal of revenue, but prices as of today are pretty high. I don't know if your normal average player is going to be dropping $100 on a house or a piece of land. I know the whales will spend a ton, However, I'd like to see some support for the micro spenders out there. The $5 to $15 a month type players. Sort of like phone games, for example. They provide something for all types of levels. So again, guys, that's it for today. Just thanks again for supporting me. I'm loving the feedback that I've been getting. Be sure to smash that like button if you liked hearing me rant on skills. Subscribe for more content. Sorry this week's video was late. It was my wedding anniversary. We had Christmas, so I hope you all had a great Christmas with your friends and family. Keep the feedback up and be sure to tell me how you feel about the system. What are your pros and cons based on your playstyle? How do you feel about the VIP? And what do you think Crowfall and ArtCraft should do to keep the money flying in? Once again, guys, it's that Erickson. Until next time, thank you, friends.